Good. That was a short minute, but I'm eager to get started. I do welcome all of you, your participants, to today's webinar. There's a lot to discuss. We have there are a lot of topics definitely on the table. We're going to have a webinar all about legal AI, the latest LLM trends. There's definitely a lot to be heard from our participants, and I welcome all three of you to today's session. Really great to have you here, Maria, Niels, and Gordian. And yeah, let's directly dive in. I would ask you to introduce yourself very shortly. So maybe to start with you, Maria.
Great, thank you very much. And thank you also for the invitation. So my name is Maria Börner. I live in Germany, here in Berlin. I made a PhD in physics, so I'm really from the technical point of view of AI stuff. Nowadays, I work in the industrial economy and create AI solutions for lawyers, for judges, and all these things. So I work at Westernacher Solutions in business development and also lead there the competence center of AI. So for me, it's always important to have an overview of all the different technologies that are around, especially for the legal area. And in my free time, I'm also a volunteer in Women in AI and to show to everyone that we also have great women here working in this field. And yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Really great to have you here. Niels, do you mind continuing?
Yes, yeah, thanks for the invitation. My name is Niels Feuer. I'm a lawyer, also with a technical background. My focus lies in legal tech and AI, particularly in developing legal AI solutions. Currently, I work as the CEO of Your Innovation, helping law firms and legal departments implementing legal AI, and also as a lecturer in topics such as AI for lawyers in different organizations. Yeah, short.
Great. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Gordian.
Yes, thank you. I'm Gordian. Right now, I'm the CTO at Legartis. I'm based in Zurich. I have over a decade of startup experience, so Legartis is not my first trip, but Legartis is my first trip in the legal area, and it's quite exciting to be here and to be able to work on digitalizing the legal space with AI.
Really great to have you as well participating today in today's webinar. I'm your moderator for today. My name is David. I'm one of the co-founders of Legartis. I have a legal background and then combined my interest in innovation with the legal background and got into legal tech a couple of years ago, co-founded the company, and I'm acting as Legartis CEO today. Really looking forward. Like I said, there's lots to be discussed. Technology is advancing at an incredible pace. Just looking at the headlines already, only now in January, that's not only happening in legal, but especially we're talking today about legal AI. Looking a year back, one probably couldn't have foreseen the things that happened over the course of 2024. Complete drafting, completely an entire contract just under a minute, entirely by AI. I think that I wouldn't have foreseen that a little bit more than a year ago. We don't want to just look back where were we at the end at the beginning of 2024 or talking about 2024. We definitely want to talk about where are we today and what's going to come. But we definitely want to talk about as well about groundbreaking trends. So there's a lot to be discussed, especially looking at the legal sector. So let's dive in directly. And I'd like to start with you, Gordian. So can you tell us a little bit more about the latest development trends or the latest developments actually in LLMs and what's to be discussed there?
Yes, since it's a new year, I want to start just to summarize 2024 a little bit. maybe it's not considered the latest as if we're talking about AI, but still I think it's important to wrap it up. So basically what's been very interesting in 2024 is that the base models itself, they all have improved, but there have not been any major leaps. So I think also every private user, if you're using ChatGPT, you might see improvements, you might see some new features, but I think the big jumps that we've seen a few years ago, they haven't happened. But what has happened in the background is that, or what maybe the user might not even see, is that we are achieving the same benchmark and results, but with much less resources. So models are getting cheaper. We are reaching the same output or quality with smaller models. And this gives us, of course, also more options or makes more business cases valid. And this has been the trend over 2024. So what has been, of course, very new in the latest trends is, of course, a bit contradictory, but it's the new OpenAI model, for example, R3. So with a lot of cost and a lot of input, we can actually get much better results. That is something that OpenAI has been implemented for our free model. Right now, I would say it's not feasible to use simply because of costs, but we can see what is potential, what you can probably do in the future. What we also saw, and I think we also might talk more about it later, but this OpenGPT-X model. So the European sector has started with their own small models. As we all might know, it might become more and more important to also have European alternatives. On the other hand, what has also been a very big trend in 2024 is applications. So the base models might not have improved, but all the solution providers or many of the solution providers, we are able to get much more out of models because we now much better know how to use them. So what we've seen is now a lot of applications with actual use cases. We also have seen first profitable AI use cases, which makes sense. So we are seeing this adoption rate becoming better and better, and the quality we can get out of the same models as solution provider is getting there. And of course, the really latest trend, and also which will be a trend for, or what I think will be a trend for 2025, are agents. So I think David, we have a slide for that. Yes. So just to give you an overview of what we can do with agents or what is already done with agents. So an agent is not just like a chat, but it can also access, for example, tools. So that means your AI model, it can talk to an API, retrieve some data. It can access your email. It can access a search function algorithm. An AI can even talk to another AI. So there's no reason for one LLM, which is good for one task, to not just talk to another LLM as well. So this opens a lot of new use cases. And this is very important for solution providers as well as in the legal sector. You can now have maybe something like a legal counsel assistant as an agent. What's also important for agents is that they have long-term memory, or we can now use long-term memory with them. So it means they might remember information about you as a users. They have a history which they can remember. And also, last but not least, it's important that they learn from history and also about the user. And this is something that's called autonomous learning and corrections.
Really great. Thank you very much, Gordian. What trends do you see, Maria?
I see a big trend in using like ChatGPT in a private area. What I can observe by friends and also by colleagues is they use it to create recipes, to create letters, to use it like a lawyer a little bit for smaller things. Of course, you go with the big stuff, you always go to a real lawyer, but for small things, you still use it. And you also use it, or what I have seen during the Christmas time is people use it to have a friend, a chatbot friend, let's say, and to talk, I mean, at the end to a virtual person, but it looks like a real person. And this is, for me, it's a little bit scary because it is that much that people bring dead people back to life in this way as well. So you can talk to people who just died and just recreate their voice by using WhatsApp information, for example, the image or the voice and everything. And this is something I observed, that you use it really as in an emotional way, these kind of large language models and also video information. And in sense of video, I see a big trend as well in marketing. I went to a marketing conference last year, and it is amazing what people do with large language models. I mean, very impressive. We had just have seen from Adidas a whole marketing video created by AI. We also see AI can create a podcast based on a topic and create a discussion between two people. So you just think it's a real podcast, but it isn't. And you can also think of creating presentations, create great pitches for your new startup. So in the marketing area, there's a heavy use of these kind of large language models, and you get very great and reasonable results. In the legal area, I think it is more focused on ChatGPT use cases. So everything you can imagine with ChatGPT, lawyers use it, or I mean, mostly lawyers. So you can imagine drafting a contract or review a contract, extract information, or also for onboarding new clients or having interconnection with the clients. So like writing emails, as Gordian already mentioned. So these are kind of use cases we see in the legal area. But I think Niels has a little bit more information about legal use cases.
Yeah, go ahead, Niels.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. So ChatGPT now has arrived with almost every lawyer, every age kind of, and everyone experimenting with it. So yeah, 100% agree on that. And also, I think one trend worth mentioning is that we have more and more investments in legal techs and legal startups. When we look at the landscape now, we see Harvey, Robin AI. I just heard from the new round, Series D, even up additional 135 million funding. So legal tech and legal AI is now kind of the radar of VCs, which is super interesting. As this increases the speed of development in our area, kind of. So like 5-10 years ago, I have a lot of friends in VCs, also consultancies. Legal tech was not sexy, legal AI also not. And now with the AI, it's kind of, this shifted. And so, yeah, I think in the future, we'll see more and more. Of course, Harvey, the most popular example of all, but there are more legal techs coming, which is like good for us, good for the legal space in general. Then second trend, more like domain-specific AI models. The German example, Back Online, now announced that they are also thinking about developing an own AI model. But also I think in France, predictive.com, there are a lot of, like in every jurisdiction, kind of there are providers that's trying to develop specific legal AI models. And also one trend I see is something more in the direction of what Gordian said before, is that we see like less technical development. So no one's actually focusing more on the benchmarks. So we had the 01 preview was the latest model, but this wasn't, like, at least from my perspective, not this big hype. Everyone's not looking for the newest kind of model. 03 is coming, but seems like super expensive. So in the legal field, we're looking more for like actual use cases. So these also the new skill set, better reasoning from 01 preview is also something we need for like real legal use cases. Yeah, so this will be like finding the real value adds in legal tools. I think this will some trend for this year.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the actual use cases that you see in the legal space? So let's go maybe a little bit more in detail there.
Yeah, so I think there are two main directions. One is repetitive tasks, so like boost your productivity with contract management tools, something like that. And the other one is kind of this mass claim-like scenarios. For a mass claim-like scenarios, DORA, so Digital Operations Resilience Act, came up last year. And we see that KPMG had a tool for DORA, specific law firms developing tools for DORA with AI. So this is the first time that we have like these vertical specialization of applications, combining LLMs with legal expertise on a high level. So before we had classic legal tech, you had to basically program everything you do. And now with legal AI, you can also, for smaller, not like real mass claims, so smaller claims, can also build a tool or an AI solution to help you on your mandate, on your client. And I think Dora was the first. It's a good example, and there will be more coming, especially with we have the DSA, DA, all the EU digital regulations that are coming up with a lot of obligations for companies, which will be a perfect use case for AI. So this will be one side, and the other side, as I already mentioned, is like repetitive tasks. So we have a lot of solution providers that combining their maybe also old like deterministic technology with AI. For example, Brighter is also combining like some AI tool with it. So basically every provider, every DMS you see have now an AI feature in it. If it makes sense or not, but it's the other, but just that's on the other end. And I think this is also something, a trend that will come. And then in the end, of course, how it is every time with new tools and new features, the good ones will stay. And maybe some of them will never use to be. I think that these are two kind of the trends, and these are the two use cases and the directions I see at the moment.
Interesting. Definitely, there will be a lot to be added. But before we go in that direction, let's just switch. And Maria, I can sense you want to share some of your observation as well with us. Am I right?
Yes, of course. The point is that, I mean, Niels mentioned already many use cases, and I think all these use cases are very valid. But let's say more to English information. So if you have something you want to create or want to figure out in English language, all these AI models work super great. I mean, you can just use any legal AI in English information and you get a great output. However, we live in Europe and we have more than English information or English language. And these AI models, they do not perform very well in French, Spanish, or any other language. So this is a big issue here that we see. I mean, Gordian already mentioned OpenGPT-X. Here we have a European AI model that is trained only on 50% of English information or English data. Just in comparison, Llama, so the Facebook Meta model was trained on 89% English data, which is, I mean, just huge. And OpenGPT-X uses, for example, like 8 to 9% Spanish data, 8 to 9% German data, French data, all these things. So you can imagine that these languages are better represented in this AI model. And I think in the future, when we fine-tune this model, if we use it for our purpose, we can really focus it on our language that we want to have it. So this is, I mean, first, a very great observation that we see the focus within Europe becomes really about multi-languages and also about regulations. Because what I see as well here in Germany, but also in Europe in general, is that everyone uses ChatGPT. I mean, it's very easy to use. So you just go there and type in whatever you want, and you get a very great result already. I mean, also for other languages than English. But the point is, if you use the open version, then your data or information is maybe used for a further training. And so you always need to take care what version you use, if you really use the enterprise version or not, if you pay for it or not, and what kind of information you put into ChatGPT, for example. Just think about data privacy. I mean, of course, everyone is thinking about data privacy, so this is something you are aware of. But are you aware of business secrets that you maybe put in business secrets and OpenAI can read at the end? So I think also lawyers sometimes use ChatGPT without taking care of all these issues that such an AI model have. And it might be pretty similar with hardware or any other tools. Yeah. So always check if the information you put in is really secure or not. And another point is that many lawyers use these AI models as a knowledge base, let's say. People just say, oh, give me a certain decision or something. And at the end, they see, okay, this decision was not, I mean, is not there. It never existed, or it is just a wrong decision for a certain case. We have seen this already a few years ago, and sometimes you hear in the media that, again, a lawyer took ChatGPT to create a claim and just used wrong decisions as a resource here. And we still have these issues. So what is super important is to educate people, to educate lawyers and everyone, that generative AI generates text, but it does not generate or recreate information. This information you need to check always in the internet, on Google or any search site you ever want, but always check it. This is at the end the work you are paid for, to check all this information. And I know it sounds pretty easy. It should be common sense, but it is not, unfortunately. What I see also in the legal area, I mean, we have just talked about lawyers, but we also have courts and judges. Here, the AI innovation is not that far, to be honest, because most of the courts, they do not use any large language model. The point is here that large language models, they need very high resources, big resources. And where can you find these resources? Mostly on Azure or AWS. And here we have the Cloud Act. The Cloud Act says that all the information that are stored on these providers coming from America, like Azure or AWS, can be taken by the US authorities. So for court, this is really a no-go, and they want to have like a local service provider for cloud systems. So be aware that this may happen. And here, Gordian already mentioned, it is super important to use smaller AI systems, because if you use your local cloud provider, it is more expensive mostly. And here it is, to save money and resources, we really need smaller models. And this is also something, as smaller models is also something that is important for our natural environment. I mean, less resources we need, less cost intensive, and less energy we really consume. It is something we really need to take care also in the future. And luckily, the trend goes to smaller models.
It does, and smaller model doesn't actually mean just less or worse results. It definitely can mean even better results for just what you actually need. I read an interesting release that just happened, I think, yesterday at the World Economic Forum, that goes exactly in that direction. So focusing on what's possible in Europe, working with European providers. Gordian, what's your take on this?
I mean, yes, I agree. I think there's also another angle that you can look at, and because there's another trend that I'm seeing, and that trend is that many companies or corporates, but also maybe law firms, are building their own proof of concepts and solutions. And that is that can be positive, but it also has downsides. So on a positive thing is that we definitely do see interest in many companies. I would even say most companies are looking into AI. Maybe some are just using chatbot or ChatGPT, but many are even now looking into building their own proof of concepts. And the good news there that right now it's quite easy to get started with very simple proof concepts and tools. There's a lot of frameworks out now where you can just click things together and you will get something working quite fast. On the other hand, we basically have to think about all these things that were mentioned before, and that's something that might not come to you as a first glance. So you might then start investing into a proof concept, and suddenly you have a huge scope creep. It goes out of hand, and it's much more expensive. So you have to see both sides to it, because in the end you also have to think, for example, solution providers such as us, we invest a lot of time into these thoughts, and now many customers underestimate that they have to do that themselves as well if they build their own POC. On another positive side, you can get started quickly because you might have your own people already on it, and you don't need to approve another vendor. And what we also see is that there's a lot of agencies now jumping on this AI bandwagon, and they might not always go for the easiest solution. And also the AI landscape changes all the time. So if you start to build an AI solution now, you also have to keep in mind the maintenance costs. So that means maintaining it, of course, is always you have to do for software, but you also have to think about benchmarking your solution, the quality. You also have to think about how you handle AI changes in the next months or years, because AI is changing, it's still changing. There's still coming out new things. So your solution will probably be outdated in a few quarters or even months if you don't update it. So all these things you have to calculate inside, and that's just the product development part. You also have to, of course, consider the things that Maria said, such as the AI Act, the compliance things, and so on, to make sure that your AI solution is implemented correctly.
So from what I hear from you, Gordian, me as a user or me as a company, if I want to go into this, on the one hand, it's easy, and on the other hand, it's quite tricky. So let's dive into this and discuss this a little bit more in more detail. So what do these technological advancements actually mean for us users? What are the potentials? What are the risks? Maria, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, as you already said, it is super easy to use AI, and every user is just, I mean, going this track of having ChatGPT. And I think what is a big risk here, as I already mentioned, is data privacy. You just use it, you add your photos on it. I mean, as I said, people use it to talk to a friend. They upload information and I mean images of a face, and all these data can be and is taken for trainings and can also be taken for bad cases. And this is something you should always keep in mind. It is, I mean, I think in other countries, we see it super intense that people just share their information with any cloud system, any providers. We have in America like a system where you have something on your West installed. It makes a video of your whole day and creates like photos of your family and everything. But these photos, I mean, from my personal point of view, I don't want to have these photos on any cloud for any person. And this is something people are not aware of, and we need to educate here. We need to tell them what's happening with the data. And of course, big companies, they are not transparent with this information, and it is a big issue here. What we see in Europe is the focus, because of the regulations we have, because of data privacy, because of the AI Act, because of the Data Act, Cloud Act. Here in Europe, we focus more on all these regulations, and we need to and have to create AI solutions and data privacy by design. So we create more or less solutions that are from the very beginning in the creation process secure to use, so that the data stays at your phone, for example, or that we only use cloud providers in a certain country and everything. So in Europe, it will become more safe as a user to use this solutions, AI solutions. So always be aware if the AI you use is really made by European people, or is it made by others from other countries. So I think it is a very positive thing to see what we have with our regulations here. But of course, we also see that big companies who produce the great innovative models, they don't will ship any updates of their models to Europe anymore. So we will lose track of this innovation because they just simply fear all the regulations we have. And what we see is that Meta, for example, they just said, okay, we will not send a new updated version of Llama to Europe because at the end they have copyright issues, just simply like that, and they cannot use it here in European Union. Something else I want to just claim, because also Gordian said about resources and climate and everything, is that if I tell people what the carbon footprint of GPT-3, for example, is, they are like, what, really? So just imagine you could have 5 cars in the whole production system and with the whole running with fuel and everything for just one single GPT training. And this is quite a lot. And the daily use, for example, produces even more or even higher carbon footprint than the training itself. So always be aware if you use ChatGPT that you also create a carbon footprint by using it. And so I think the news said that the carbon footprint of one ChatGPT question is 10 times higher than using Google. And here what we see is people use, as I said, ChatGPT as resources for getting knowledge, but at the end, the knowledge is in Google. So you find more valid information on Google with a less carbon footprint here. This is something we really need to tell everyone, and we need to educate here even more, because in the future, I mean, we just have one planet. It will become more important. So yeah, I think for users, it becomes more easy to use AI, but it has a price.
Maybe Maria. So listening to you, I definitely hear, I do hear the risk. I do see, and I hear the challenges we're facing. And you mentioned education is a big part of actually solving this. Maybe at the very end, you just mentioned that there is a big potential as well. Can you elaborate a little bit on that as well?
The potential is also to create, I mean, innovation because of regulation, let's say. We have, due to data privacy, we see that innovation like federated learning was just created, because what you do in federated learning is you have all your data, for example, on your phone. On your phone is also trained an AI model, and only this AI model is sent to the cloud. And if you just keep track of everything, you can share AI models without sharing the data. So I think in the future, everything becomes more secure, and it is something we really need to not only say, oh, in Europe, because of all these regulations, we are back behind, but it can be and it will be also part of our innovation. And I think it's in our blood to really secure our data and information, and to find a best way, having not only secure AI solutions, but also to have like great working AI solutions, innovative AI solutions to compete to others in the to others in the world.
Talking about potentials, Niels, what's your take?
Yeah, at first I couldn't agree more on Maria's take on like the green footprint on AI, but also for the importance of like data protection in general. But looking at the potentials, yeah, so from a legal perspective, of course, the biggest one is increased efficiency for like any kind of legal worker, such as lawyers or judge or whatever, to decrease the amount of repetitive tasks like doc review, legal research, the task you do not have to study 7 years law for, and then to like looking for information in one big folder. So you can focus more on the complex tasks, the tasks you actually were educated for. But I think one potential super interesting is the like new business models with AI in the legal space. So on the first hand, of course, we lower the bar for any kind of legal service. It may get cheaper. Digital, like access to justice, is one, I think, important topic. We saw it at Flight Rides. It's super easy now to get your compensation for the flight delay. This was before AI, but probably they can lower their cost or whatever with AI. And I think some like similar comparable models will come up. Because at the moment, legal advice is still super expensive, inaccessible for a lot of people. So this could be one big potential with AI long term. And of course, also a bit like a better enhanced client service. So we can have more chatbots, more legal education for everyone. When you do your taxes, you have your little chatbot that can ask what to fill out, something like this. Are things that will help like navigating through this legal landscape for non-lawyers and also for lawyers. And also one other take for challenges, a bit following this what Maria said. I think it will be super interesting to see, and I don't have a solution for it yet, is how legal professions will get educated in the future with AI. Because basically, as you already said, when you try ChatGPT, you can type in, draft me a contract, and you will get a contract. You don't need to learn it from scratch now. You can actually do everything with AI much faster and better. You just need to review it. But you need the knowledge to review it, like kind of where does it come from? At the moment, I think at universities, they, at least I can only speak for Germany, didn't do a quite good job in implementing AI kind of in the schedule, but we'll see how that goes in the future.
Right. So that was the take from or the view from the perspective of users. Gordian, what's the situation with solution providers?
Yes,
Is that very different?
Somewhat different. I mean, we have to handle the other side. So I mean, everything that I think we have discussed before has to be handled by solution providers. So that starts, for example, with flexibility in models. One reason, for example, is of course the models getting better and better, but also of course with compliance changing. Let's say now we are not allowed to use US models anymore. When we as solution provider, we have to be prepared for that. We have to be able to easily switch to another model and hopefully also have the same quality. So for example, we have built our own tooling for that so that we can easily switch models at any time. And that's something that I think is now expected by solution providers. And this is also not, flexible models is not just in general, but it also, you as a solution provider need to be able to choose a model for the correct task. So there's a lot of benchmarks out there, like general benchmarks, but they might not help you at all for your legal tasks. So maybe in our case, one model is very good of identifying legal topics. We also have, for example, a different model that is basically better at the other model in rephrasing clauses according to customer requirements. And this, of course, can go on for a lot of use cases. But basically, solution providers have to be able to measure the quality for the use case to get the user a good experience. Another trend when I also see is, of course, or a challenge is, of course, especially in the legal sector, is as a platform provider, you also have to be able to offer some on-premise options as well for your customers. There might be contracts which, for example, are classified as highly confidential, when even as a vendor, you might not be allowed to see them. And there it's for one reason important that you are able to handle or support small models, but also have your platform vendor agnostic, so that customers can host them on their own. And this option is getting better and better. I mean, before it was also already possible, but not every customer might have very big GPUs. So now I'm very delighted to see that models are getting smaller and smaller, but still have a good quality. And then, of course, these are the existing things I think that you have to offer, but also you have to go for the latest trends. And there are two big trends. One is the transparency and traceability. So what that means is that if people use a tool or platform, they want to be able to understand why a model came to a certain decision. I think this is also becoming more and more expected. Right now, it's definitely not a default. But if you're a solution provider and can offer that, you're definitely up to the latest important trend. And that gives the user more clarity on why an AI makes a decision, because often it might just be a misunderstanding of a user prompt in the AI model, and the model is simply missing context. So if the model explains to you why it came to a certain conclusion during the tool, then you can just maybe change your requirement, and then it will work as expected. And the last thing that is very important is, of course, now what I think we have all discussed or taught before is the automation with agents. So right now, we often have this a few step process in solution providers or tools, and you enter something and you get some output. But now with agents, it's getting much more dynamic. For example, for us at Legartis, it can mean before the user had to prompt requirements. Now with an agent, it's actually the agent that can prompt for you. So this will get very exciting in 2025, because I think when we talked 1 or 2 years ago, there were people thinking you had to actually hire prompt engineers. But the way I see it going is that actually I will become more and more self-sufficient, and it will actually be able to prompt itself with just assistant of an expert. So where I see big chances and also a lot of automation going on in 2025 for solution providers.
I very much like two things on listening to you, Gordian. One is that especially when choosing a European provider, it makes sense to understand how much know-how is actually with that provider. So it's not just the job is not just done by adding ChatGPT and then you're an AI provider. That becomes very clear. So I think for when you're actually choosing a provider, ask those questions. What's the know-how within the company? And secondly, I liked how you actually already went into your predictions for 2025, and that's exactly where I want to go next. So the developments of what's going to hit the market, I think it's only fair. We're still in January. Until the end of January, we're allowed to say Happy New Year. So we're as well allowed to talk about predictions. Niels, what's going to hit the market? What are we going to talk about in 2025?
Yeah, picking up that what Gordian said, I would also say AI agents. I think this will be the new hype cycle and the new big thing for this year. And AI agents in marketing terms is everything from a custom GPT and beyond. But I think more about like real AI agents, as Gordian already explained. So automation of workflows, complex tasks, multi-step processes, and that's all covered by AI, by multiple LLMs. I think that will be one, the development of this year and probably the next years. And this is also the thing I personally think is super interesting and also necessary when we want to conquer or tackle more complex tasks in the legal fields. Since when you look at like almost all legal tasks, from drafting a contract to statement of claim or whatever, it's a multi-step process from like doing research, collecting information from your client, from multiple resources. Then you have to combine these things. Doing like on off with the client, maybe ask questions forth and back, and this is processed as when you like look over yourself, over your shoulder when you work. This is such a high and complex process that an LLM with one prompt in like one shot and can't work out. So I think to really redesign these kind of task automation, this will be the one big task challenge and trend this year. And also, I think, also in the direction of what Guardian said, combining expertise with tool providers. So the example of Dora is kind of law firm with a strong legal expertise, looked sometimes with tool developers, sometimes with their own development departments, to combine the expertise with AI to have, like a strong and tool with a high legal quality. And I think this will be also one development for this year.
All right. Maria.
A big positive trend I see here for the next year is that we will have a combination, as Gordian already mentioned, in having generative AI, so creating text in combination with a knowledge base, so that you know where your information comes from, that you can trust your information or not, so that you can really research if the resources are not right or not. So I think, I mean, it's already something they are working on, and the newest version of ChatGPT is already working. And I think this is something people will more focus on, because explainable AI, as we have it here in this case, is a big issue. You always want to know why an AI decided in a certain way, not only for generative or AI models or LLMs, but also for other cases. Imagine you want to check if the photo you have, it is something criminal or not, and you want to know, okay, why did you check that this image is something legal relevant? And here, explainable AI will be a big focus for the next year. I, however, see also negative trends for this year, especially because, I mean, we also have a lot of elections, is that we will have more deepfakes around, and AI becomes better and better. You don't sometimes see a difference if it is really a human or a virtual thing. So deepfakes will be an issue, a negative issue. And also the AI regulation of the European Union does not really say something about deepfakes. I mean, you have to claim that it is a deepfake, but I mean, it doesn't change something that criminals will use this information and will use deepfakes. And at the end, if you're a criminal, why should you claim that this is AI generated? Doesn't make any sense. So, so I really see a negative trend here. And what I also would like to say or mention is that the costs, of course, they will be lower in the future for models, because the models become smaller. But for big providers, we still have the issue here that they have a lot of investment put in to create this AI. And this money is at the moment still around and not back, let's say. I mean, imagine just using ChatGPT, it is super cheap. OpenAI has a lot of investors, they invested a lot of money. And also Microsoft didn't get any money back so far. It is still a negative value at the end of the year. So we will see here if the prices of something like Copilot or ChatGPT will increase in the future, because at the end, resources are expensive. Training is expensive. And I'm really looking forward to see how the prices will develop in the future in this sense.
Interesting. Do you think we're already going to see that development now in 2025? Or is that something actually that's going to be come our way afterward? Yes.
I mean, at a certain point, it has to be seen. I think we will see already this year a little bit with every new model. We will see some also development in the price. And of course, OpenAI tries to always have a new updated model and everything. And something that is also just interesting for me is that we always talk about increase of efficiency, but this increase of efficiency, it will drop. Because the point is that at the moment we generate so much text and images that new generations of AI model will learn all these generated things, and will also learn that maybe images look different than in real world. And so it becomes worse in this sense. And this is also something, I mean, from the research point of view, I'm really looking forward to what's happening here and how the big providers will face it.
All right. Gordian, what are your predictions for 2025? What's going to hit the market?
Well, I would say tool adoption. So I think in existing tools, we are still not where we still not have AI in all the tools. So I think that will be an ongoing trend. I guess we already saw in January, I think now Google Workspace enabled Gemini for everyone. Might actually also have something to do with price, because since these cloud providers have high margins, they can maybe kind of consider, if they enable AI, that it's a whole package and finance AI across. So that might be one option that cloud providers are going for. We will see. But Apple is also now going to enable AI on MacBooks forcefully, and I think Microsoft as well. So all the big players are now enabling it in their workspaces, and then I think we have to see if they are happy with how much money they make on that or not, and also how happy users are with that integration, because I hear different opinions. So some are not so happy with Copilot, for example. Some are happy, but it depends. However, maybe also on another side is with agents. So I think we all, at least in this round, I think we all agree that agents are going to be a big topic 2025, but that also comes with a big risk. And that risk is security. There's, for example, one topic called prompt injections. So if an agent is working completely on their own, there's kind of a security risk in a sense. If it, for example, can access your emails, and that's actually happened already. There's an agent that can listen to your emails and it can answer on your emails. And if it has access to all your emails, maybe someone outside can actually prompt the model to do something that you might not expect. So for example, if I know there's an agent on the other side, I can send it an email and tell it to give me all the password, or else there's going to be maybe a World War III or something like that. And then the model might look through all the emails and send me all the users' passwords. And this is quite dangerous. So you have to be really careful about what kind of data you share with the model. Because if it has access to all the model and some outsider, which you don't know who it is, and you also cannot control the input, then it's a big security risk. And I think not all people are aware of that. And that's going to be a trend. There's already startups trying to tackle that issue, but in the end, it's know-how that you have to have if you're setting up AI, if you're setting up agents, if you're connecting your model with a knowledge base, then you just have to consider these facts.
Thank you very much. So we've heard smaller models, we've heard education on data privacy, data security, how to actually work with AI. In the very beginning, I heard, well, everybody's actually using ChatGPT already. I actually doubt that one. I think, and that's my hope for 2025, that just in general adoption of legal AI, the usage of legal AI just increases. It becomes actually maybe a little bit more a mass thing. So it's not about should I do it, or it's more about where do I actually use it. So I'm really looking forward to a lot of interesting discussions we're going to have over the course of 2025. Before we finish today's webinar, we have two things that we want to tackle. One is just highlighting that there is going to be a next webinar, about mastering next level legal AI. So if you're interested, register, and looking forward to welcoming there. And the second thing is we do have a couple of questions left that were posed in the Q&A tool. I'm gonna start with the first one. Can you please describe Gen AI in comparison to simple LLM? Who wants to take that? I think that's a question all of you can answer actually quite easily.
I can
see that Gordian wants to take it. Go ahead, please.
So I would say generative AI is just a more broad term in general for all these bigger models, which can generate, and large language model is more of a specific term related to, as it says, language. So for example, it does not contain models that generate images and so on, which are specific to the tasks. So one is generative AI is more broader term, and large language model is simply more specific to certain tasks.
Good. Thank you very much, Gordian. So and with looking at the time, I definitely let's continue with the second question. Any trends with regards to AI in criminal investigations? Evidence presented in court, social media evidence, for example. Maria or Niels, do you want to take that?
I would like to take it, but
go for
Niels,
it.
You need to add all the informations. Any trends here? To be honest, they are more or less negative, because if you use AI in criminal investigation, it will be under high risk from the European Union AI Act. And I think that in this case, courts, they will not invest that much money to really set up these kind of AIs, because if it is high risk environment AI systems, then you need to fulfill like compliance, and it will take a lot of time, and it's quite expensive to fulfill them. However, what I see as well is that you can use AI to filter out in social media negative things, negative comments, or untrue things. But we see like on Meta that people don't want it, and they're not following up on this topic. So I also unfortunately see a negative trend here. However, I have great hope in European Union. And what is your opinion about it, Niels?
Yeah, just share that. I see a positive trend. I think one big potential is that we can analyze like large data sets with AI much easier and also in criminal investigations, also in and through social media. And as from what I know, at least in Germany, courts also working on this at the moment, because of course it's so much easier to find patterns, like digital forensics, and this also will increase with AI over the next years. And it's a bit slower than outside of course, but I think they're working on it, and this will also come in the next years.
All right. I think the next question, a really interesting one. I hear a lot about improved efficiency and lower costs, but everybody offering legal AI services is charging premiums. Where's the benefit? I think Niels or Gordian, that's one for you, for the two of you. Gordian, do you want to go first?
I can go first. I mean, I agree with its statement somewhat. I think there's a big difference between different providers. I think a lot of existing platforms are just, I would say, slapping AI on top of it and then charging some amount. And then I also question what is value. For example, I'm not sure if I need to pay $20 per user for Slack to summarize me messages. And when I pay the same $20 per month for another solution to summary also messages on some other platform. So where I would question where's the benefit compared to value. But there are also providers that, of course, it makes sense. I mean, this is something, of course, you have to discuss with the tool also provider to get the business case right. In our case, it's quite simple. For example, we reduce risk in a contract that has some value, and we also allow a speed to review a contract, and that you can easily calculate how much that is worth.
Yeah, I would agree. It depends. But for example, big law firms also, some of them are losing pitches because they're just too expensive, because they don't use AI tools, for example, in DDs, in data analysis, in big data rooms, information extraction is just, when you want to do it manually, of course, you just have the billable hour, and then it's just too expensive. So you have to use tools. And of course, the tool itself costs, but the tool itself and I don't know, some hours to review it are still cheaper than doing it manually by lawyers. And I think this is what it means by, okay, more efficiency, lowering costs, at least for law firms. But of course, this will increase and we see more, over Autonomous who comes and over the next years.
All right. So looking at the time, there are a couple of questions left. We'll get back to you directly. Just being aware of everybody's time. I want to finish this on time. Thank you very much to the three of you for participating today. This was really interesting. I enjoyed it very much. I think there's a lot to be discussed in future webinars. But for now, a big thank you to the three of you. A big thank you to our audience. Thank you very much for joining us. I wish you all a wonderful afternoon. If you have any questions on the urge to talk with us, being it on a work level or being it just to get in touch with us, we have our contacts here. And with that, thank you very much. Have a great day.